everything that we do are supposed to target the fulfillment of that development plan and consequently the 2030 vision, which is the vision of the Republic of Zambia. That's where we are heading to. So all developmental issues are targeted and implemented through the National Development Plan, and in our case, and through the annual work plans, and finally, the fulfillment of the National Development Plans. As an institution, as a university, we are always interested and we participate as a university. We are key stakeholders in the things that are happening even in the public sector. After all, we thrive within the policies of the Republic of Zambia, and our well-being is dependent on them. Their presentation of a conducive environment is important for us. For the students and the lecturers, I would like you to follow the presentations which our colleagues will be making, and let us see where we fit in as a private universities, because we have a huge stake in the national cake. We would love to continue partnering with PMRC in terms of such presentations. And if you need our experts, they'll always be there to link up with you. Welcome once again. Thank you so much for coming.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. We have to feel welcome in this place. We've already been welcomed by the team, but thank you so much for accommodating us at short notice. So my name is Salim Kaunda. I'm the head of research and analysis at PMRC, and I'm also the chief of party. And basically, why we're here today, Junilas, is to discuss the 7th National Development Plan. Some of you might have heard about it, some of you might not have heard about it, but the reality is, whether you know about it or not, it's actually shaping whatever is happening in the country. So I think someone might say, but I'm studying IT and computer science and financial management, how does this come to effect? The fact that we are in school, the fact that we are citizens, the fact that we're youth, means that we have to take keen interest into the 7 NDP, and also want to avail ourselves as a resource to the students, because I think some of us, when we were in school, we never had public policy think tanks where we could go to get information, where we could go to get advice from our research proposals. So some of the things that perhaps students might struggle with are things that PMRC can be of help.
How many of us are hearing about PMRC for the first time? Wow. You're in the right place now. You need to know what PMRC is all about. So PMRC is a public policy think tank that was established in the year 2012. So we've been around for the last 7 years or so. So our role primarily is to disseminate matters of policy development in the country. So our vision really is to unlock Zambia's potential, and we are guided by our stated aims. And the first stated aim is to encourage public debate on policy-related matters, and also promote public understanding of policy issues. Additionally, we also follow up on the implementation of various policies that are implemented by the government over there. And we do this through the monitoring of various indicators. So our outputs actually are various. I was talking about an infographic. So an infographic is a one-page document that compresses complex information, like the budget. Then we also do policy analysis. We also do policy briefs, really that are targeted at policymakers. We do podcasts. Then every Thursday we're also on radio 4. on a program dubbed the PMRC Policy Corner.
Let's go on a journey. But if we're to take a mental journey into what we envision this country of ours to be in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, are we able to conceive an idea of what Zambia would look like? Basically what you see, I hope people at the back are able to see, but there's another screen there. So basically what we're saying is that there's a document that has been devised called Vision 2030, which basically stipulates what Zambia should look like by the year 2030. So it looks at all the sectors and talks about what we should be. And I give an example of countries that people are admiring these days. People talk of Rwanda these days. People talk of the Emirates, Abu Dhabi and Dubai. Those countries 20 years ago were not what they are today. So the Vision 2030 is a document that has been designed to ensure that by then Zambia is a developed middle-income nation. Now, for us to get to that state, of course we should expect that Zambia would not be as it is now, or Zambia would be looking different. Is it in terms of infrastructure? Is it in terms of roads? Is it in terms of the poverty figures? What is it that we envision that would define a developed Zambia? So we have that in the Vision 2030, but for us to get to that, every 5 years, a national development plan is devised. And this is basically, from the graphic over there you can see, these are steps that are taking us towards Vision 2030. So as we speak, we've had the 5th National Development Plan, we've had the 6th, we've had the revised, and now we have the 7th, which is running from 2017 to 2021. Now, this is already 2019. As it stands, the 7 NDP has been in existence for almost 2 years. So we will express what we also think are challenges that we have not done in a period of 2 years. So in devising these national documents, we look at what is it that Zambia can manage to do based on these protocols that we have signed. So this is where you should take keen interest. Whenever you hear that there is a protocol that has been signed or a treaty, for example, now we want to sign the CFTA, Continental Free Trade Area, which will open up the borders of Africa for free movements of goods and services. So for those people that are doing development studies, trade, finance, those are things that you look at. What will be the impact for Zambia? What kind of goods are we going to be able to float in the CFTA? What is it that we produce with so much value that can be floated on the CFTA? So Paris COP21 was signed in Paris, and countries were basically given a limit into the amount of carbon footprint that you can produce as a country. Now, if you imagine how these things work, China and America are the largest polluters of the environment. True or false? True. Exactly. But the effects of climate change are mostly felt where? In Africa. Isn't that surprising? Then quickly, some of the reforms that are being undertaken as we were looking at the plan was, of course, centralization, which is something that has been talked about for 20 years plus. It has not yet been fully implemented. And again, the question is why? So we expect someone from here to come up with a proposal or research project in final year and interrogating centralization. Why have we just fully failed to decentralize? And the other reforms, of course, public service reforms, private sector reforms, public finance management reforms, basically looking at people who keep on abusing public funds. It's also frustrating efforts where when you read the Auditor General's report, you find that people are abusing funds meant for development. Those are some of the things that we try to counter and expose so that money that is meant for development goes for development. Then financial sector reforms, of course, just talks about financial inclusion and helping as many people as possible know how to access finance, and also we will let you know where you can access some of this finance for people who have projects. Next slide, please. If you look at our country, would we say that every province has that equal share of the national cake? Okay. Now, there are resources unique to every province, right? So we look at Western Province, it's got abundant floodplains. How about we enhance industrial zones, economic zones, agricultural economic zones to focus on those crops which do well with water? When we look at the northern part, which has got abundant water resources, the lakes, northern Luapula, Mchinga, how about we enhance fisheries in those areas? When we look at the Copper Belt and Northwestern, enhance mining, Southern and Central enhance the maize belt. Eastern enhance those crops that do well in terms of drought-resistant areas. So we can have a situation where we have diversification within the agriculture sector, where we look at unique conditions that pertain to every province. That way we'll be able to empower every province, empower the growth of industries, and it has a spiral effect on employment as well. Low levels of innovation. I went to present something like this in an international forum, and I was challenged. When was the last time a Zambian invented anything? I couldn't dance, I didn't know. I thought, what do we make as Zambians? Then my Zambian colleague was with me and said, wait, tell them what Timapanga Mambaola. And what you can't say that. A brazier. Okay? It was funny. It was funny, but it got me thinking. To say, where is our innovation culture? Where is the entrepreneurship culture? Have we enhanced ICTs? We learn about ICTs now. What have we done with them? Okay? So some of these malls, me have said it, let them be demonstration centers of better practices of agriculture in view of climate change. We can no longer depend on the rain. Let's see what happened. When did we last have rain here? Last month or the other month. So what happens to the farmers? If you go to the multi-facility economic zone at the airport, the guys are growing things in a hole such as this. No rain, no what? They are growing mushrooms, vegetables, what? Technology. So basically, this is what I wanted to share with us. But my colleague will come just very briefly to just tell you what your role is now to implement the 7 NDP. So with these remarks, I thank you so much for your attention.
So for my role today, I'm actually going to talk about the roles of students as well as youth in the 5 pillars that Mr. Kaunda had mentioned. And the first pillar is going to look at economic diversification as well as job creation. So one of the constraints that was actually highlighted within the 7th National Development Plan is the issue of lack of innovation as well as skills. And this is due to the bias of people actually preferring arts as well as social sciences as opposed to sciences and technical studies, which Mr. Kaunda already alluded to. So one of the ways in which students as well as youths can actually improve on this is actually trying to take upon such courses, or maybe trying to assess the skill gap that the nation is facing to see which areas actually need more skills and more personnel to actually engage in such areas. Then secondly, Mr. Kaunda also mentioned something to do with students, youth acquainting themselves with the national youth policy as well as the youth empowerment schemes. So in the youth policy, there are actually programs that have been aligned which show the various empowerment programs that students as well as youths can access, and you can also have access to finances. So once you do this, it actually makes it easier for youth to actually take upon roles of being entrepreneurs. And when you look at being entrepreneurs, you just have to ensure that the kind of businesses that you deal with actually feed into diversifying the economy. And through the same businesses that youths can actually come up with, you can actually also improve in terms of job creation. Then lastly, students can improve the country's policy environment by joining cluster advisory groups. So these are basically groups that include different stakeholders, and one of the ways in which students can do this is through student unions. And you can actually have a platform in which you can actually bring out concerns that might be affecting you as youth or maybe the nation in general. So those are some of the roles in which students can actually play in terms of implementing the 7th National Development Plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Namonje. We'll now invite questions. The floor is yours now.
What are cluster advisory groups? What does it take to be a member of that? Thank you.
The cluster advisory groups, for those who may not be aware, are groups, I think, that have been created under each pillar of the 7 NDP, which from time to time will meet to assess the progress in the implementation of the 7 NDP. So this is where you assess progress, and then you're able to put forward recommendations and changes. If something is failing, you sit in these meetings periodically to try and help in attainment of the goals under 7NDP.
To go. So just like he has stated earlier, he said when we are younger, we get to say, oh, I want to be a policeman, I want to be a dancer, I want to be a model. But don't you think that two-tier system is going to cause more confusion, because at that young age, people are a little bit too young to know that there is professions such as development specialists, economists, public health specialists to actually choose their career? Because you're saying you want to change the education system. Or isn't it that you're supposed to actually update the current education system? So does PMRC taken any analysis on the respondents of the policy, on how these policies are affecting the people you're applying the policies for? And has PMRC educated the youths, the citizens, on how to adapt to policy development, how to adapt to policy change? So is the education or sensitization of those policies efficient from your side?
So my question is, do we have the capacity and the income to ensure that this continues on a long-term basis? And another question that is linked to this is, do we have strategies to ensure that the social cash transfers that you send to the people will actually help people out of poverty? Are there any strategies that are there to ensure that whatever money you send to them is actually helping them out of poverty?
How do you ensure that people in the rural areas who have no access to information get to know about the 7 national development plans, so that they can also take ownership in the national 7 plan?
What evidence and proof do we have that what you're telling us is gospel truth and not just government propaganda? So how then does the government plan on stabilizing our mental health?
So with the two-tier system, actually what is happening is that now they've introduced early childhood education. I'm sure you've heard about that. So ECD actually has come up as a result of children that begin learning at a very young age have been reported to actually have a smoother progression with their education than those that start late. If you start grade 1 at, for example, 4 years, compared to someone who starts grade 1 at 9 years, the progression would be different. For you started at 4 years, as your mind is developing, the inquisitive mind is developing, you'd be able to learn much more. And it's been proven by various research that the lifelong learning progression would be much smoother. Then I'll also take the one that talked about the rural areas. I think, how do we ensure that people in the rural areas have access? So the 7NDP has been translated into local languages, just to let you know. It's been translated into Braille to cater for the visually impaired as well. Then what is happening as well, there are programs as we speak where community radio stations have access to this information and are able to share. We have focus group discussions happening with the chiefdoms across the country. We as PMRC have also gone to areas that we can manage with our funds to ensure that we use chiefs, headmen, and bring communities together and share the information with them.
So I'll answer the question that relates to social cash transfer. Do we have the capacity? If we don't have the capacity, of course, we have to create that capacity, because as our colleague was making a presentation, one of the pillars of the 7th National Development Plan is to reduce the development inequalities. And the research has shown that countries that have not done intervention to reduce the inequalities, they tend to enlarge even further. As a matter of fact, Zambia is one of the countries that has got a very high gene coefficients. Gene coefficients measures the levels of inequalities in the country in terms of income. So basically, I think going forward, what we need to do is really to make recommendations of how we can enhance the implementation of the social cash transfer. Our recommendation as PMRC has been that it should now go electronic so that we can increase the access. We can also maybe lobby for more funds from the donors.
If you look at the evidence, and there's, I think, substantial research which has been done by other institutions, you will see that the way the social cash transfer works, out of some of those disbursements that are given to people, there are people who have actually come out of poverty, and the evidence is there. People have started to run some businesses in rural areas out of the poultry amounts that they receive under the social cash transfer. So the evidence is there that some people are getting out of poverty. But the other issue also is social cash transfer covers even people that are physically challenged or disabled to assist them, I think, in their day-to-day living, as well as people that are old, people that are very old. So these are programs. So as long as we have people that are not able to take care of themselves, old people, in the long term, we should continue with the social cash transfer. And it's also one way of trying to reduce inequality in society. So government has the onus to support people that are not able to support themselves for various reasons. So she has been sitting as board chairperson before she became Minister of Finance. So the issue to say we're sugarcoating things or trying to make government look good, that is not true. And you'll find the evidence in our research work. If you go on the PMRC website and you read what we write, it may scare you because we write the truth and our research is very, very objective.